Listen up, sports fans. Your favorite sportsbook, BetUS.com, is back for our 28th year of NFL action. With the industry's biggest sign-up bonus of up to 200%, BetUS offers our members the opportunity to cash in on all your favorite sports, including NFL, NBA, MLB, and more. We've also got hundreds of new casino games, including the coolest new European slots, and our live dealers are waiting for you at the table. Sign up at BetUS.com today to get into the action. BetUS, where the game begins.
And now, broadcasting live from Las Vegas, the Snake Sports Talk Show with Jake Silva starts now.
Here we go, ladies and gentlemen. We got a little bit of I would say, a flurry type of Friday here in Denver, Colorado. This is the Snake Sports Talk Show, wherever and however you may be watching and listening. Thanks for making us a part of your lovely evening. Oh, ain't stopping us tonight. Oh, we got a lot to talk about all over Roku, iHeartRadio, and all social medias. On demand for you to like, subscribe, hit the bell button, keep you up to date on future and past episodes. Boy, what a game last night. But there is some truth to both sides, though. And we're going to be talking a lot about it. Plus, this Sunday, it's going to be interesting. Post-trade deadline moves now as we get to see them on Sunday. But I'm feeling pretty good with my potential picks for this week.
Yeah, there's a lot to talk about, a lot to discuss, and especially now that we're reaching that time of the season where you're going to start seeing teams get eliminated very, very quickly in the NFL from playoff contention.
Oh, yeah. Well, I will tell you what, though, Chase. Last night, we just saw two MVPs go at it against each other. The difference of it is that one has a much more supportive organization than the other one does. So let's talk about last night's game, because I know everybody has been on the train that the officiating has been sketchy. The officiating has been horrible. And you know what? Like I talked about, like Chase and I talked about with the election week, I promise to, at the very least, make sports content better. Like, this is what we are known for. So why can't we make officiating better? You know, because there has been a huge train now where regular season officiating is at its all-time worst. It's so bad. Missed calls, penalties that just haven't made sense, all that. But I'm not going to talk specifically on that. I do want to talk about, so I'll start first with Lamar Jackson and the Baltimore Ravens. First of all, Baltimore right now is riding the hot hand. Now, Chase can attest to this. I do not like, and this has been something since I've started betting, I do not like betting AFC North matchups for a few reasons. These games are not obvious. Okay, there may be 1 week where I'll take Baltimore over the Cleveland Browns, and the Browns beat them. Or I would take the Browns over the Bengals, and it's the same thing. Cincinnati would end up beating them, and vice versa. It's everybody in the AFC North. But it is fun. It is very, very fun to watch. My big thing is that the Baltimore Ravens right now, you can agree to disagree that Lamar with Derrick Henry is arguably the best running duo that they've ever had in their organization, and I think what we've ever seen in history. Both of them just accommodate each other so well because one, Derrick Henry is just built differently. He may not perform the same as he once did when he was still in his prime. But the difference of it is it's just this organization right now is I mean, they just love to play hard. They play great all the time. And the one thing about the Baltimore Ravens, you know what I compare them to? I compare them to that gym freak maniac that's always in the gym almost every single day, and he's just pumping up every single day, getting better. He never skips a Sunday. They always show up, and that's just who the Baltimore Ravens are. The Cincinnati Bengals, they got one guy working out in the gym, and everybody else seemed to have disappeared, especially the defense. That's literally what they are. But Baltimore, you can agree that Lamar just finds every single possible way to wow us all. But I'll tell you what, though, if you saw last night with their newly acquired wide receiver, Deontay Johnson, there were several points in his route running that kind of looked ugly. I'm not going to lie to you, but it is the first time being a part of this offensive scheme. Give it a little bit of time. It'll cook. Usually this is what happens with a lot of newly acquired players. It takes a little bit of time. But you can admit, though, when you have Lamar Jackson there in your back pocket and you just see with what he can do, it's definitely such entertainment. I mean, that's really what it's all about. I don't know what to expect. It's like he's the magician, and we've seen that Lamar is like Houdini. You just don't know with what he's going to pull out of the hat next. That's what I'm always waiting for. I know the defense is a bit suspect, but like I said in the previous episodes, that defense is shaped up to where Lamar would have to play certain teams in shootouts. And that's the funny thing about it. Now, again, they are coming away with wins because you could see with how that offense really plays and pans out. But at least Lamar, veteran quarterback, understands the task and what is expected of him. So that's why I think the offense, when you trust Lamar winning 75% of his games, that's more than enough for me to gain the trust. I know a lot of people are all like, well, John Harbaugh, has he kind of reached the peak? No, I don't think so. I think John Harbaugh is just very happy that at least Lamar find ways to win. You know? And look, that defense played hard against the Denver Broncos, and here's the takeaway. Okay, they had a rookie quarterback. When rookie quarterbacks play, usually a lot of teams, a lot of the veteran ones, they always seem to give rookies hell. Okay, it's different when you're facing Mahomes and Burrow and Josh Allen, Justin Herbert, and some of them, because veteran quarterbacks, you faced them multiple times, you know exactly what to expect. That defense will not look the same, and you saw that last night with Joe Burrow. Now, let me talk about Cincinnati on the other side. So Joe Burrow, and you guys would maybe not agree to this, but I've said Joe Burrow, if you looked at him from statistical standpoint, he is having an MVP season. If you look at the two of them, they both have 24 passing touchdowns. The difference is Burrow has 2 more picks than the other. Okay, that's the difference. But Joe Burrow, all throughout this year, and I can pull up statistic stats here for you, is I watched the two of them, and I thought it was just really entertaining from both. Now, the hard part is, yes, officiating was god-awful because Burrow is getting harassed, like, in his face. Like, he ends up taking a smack to the face somewhere, and there's no call. There's a missed penalty there. I felt bad for Burrow initially up on that. But Joe Burrow, 34 of 56 passes. 56. Lamar had 33 passes, but had 4 touchdowns, no picks, 428 passing yards, and a rating of 108. Are you telling me that that's not MVP caliber? Joe Burrow this year has over 2,600 passing yards, 24 touchdowns, and 4 interceptions, and a QBR rating of 74. Don't tell me that Burrow does not deserve to be in the MVP race. Statistically, he looks great. The only thing that's holding him back is the organization, because the Brown family have known to be cheap. They are known to have held on their head coaches for longer than they should. And amidst this whole thing, okay, Zach Taylor is not going to get fired. Let me just point that out there. Chase might disagree with me on this, but Zach Taylor's not going to get fired, and let me tell you why. Offensive side of the ball is not the problem. The DC looks lost. They had a conversation about this weeks ago, and Joe Burrow did the right thing. Pull the coaches aside, have a private meeting, and try to figure out how to get consistent and on the same page. The DC looks lost. The defense outside of Trey Hendrickson and a couple of other pieces I like, they look so dismantled. They really did. And this is why the Bengals' frustration this entirety of the season has not been on offense. It's been on defense. And listen, I had the pleasure of interviewing Zach Taylor years ago during the Super Bowl, and I think he's a great guy. I don't even think he's that terrible. From somebody in a Sean McVay tree, you would think he knows a thing or two about offense. All it takes is having the right competent DC. Could you imagine Joe Burrow having Robert Saleh as the defensive coordinator and they got defense right? No matter how cheap the Brown family really are in Cincinnati. But I think this is what happens when you have cheap owners. They don't pay attention to some of the sides of the ball that they should be improving. I mean, take, for example, this. Justin Herbert, since he's been a rookie, his defenses have been in the 20s or below. So bad. But Jim Harbaugh hires his successor, Jesse Minter, and they're the number one scoring defense. All you have to give is a very good defense and an offensive line to support him. Joe Burrow doesn't have any of that. He doesn't have a supportive offensive line to at least relieve a lot of the duress that he's going through on a weekly basis. He doesn't have a defense that's shut down because once Jesse Bates left and a couple of others, look at how Jesse Bates is playing in Atlanta. Look at how a lot of other teams are also playing too. Like, you gotta support your star quarterback. I don't think Cincinnati has ever done that. You know, we could laugh because, listen, I'm not going to compare the Cincinnati Bengals to the Chicago Bears or to the Detroit Lions or to a lot of other teams that really have never been able to figure that out. At least Detroit woke up and they've actually fixed it. Okay, they fixed the culture. It was an entire culture shift. But at least, like, you got to give Burrow some help. By the way, they will extend Jamar Chase before T. Higgins. Higgins is gone. I think you can kind of see the downgrades of the doubtfuls and the injury reports. He's clearly gone after this year. He'll be a free agent. Somebody's going to sign him, and that's the end of it. But it's not stopping Joe Burrow from being the quarterback that he is. You could see on his face every single day. He's pissed. He's tired of this. When your star quarterback shows a lot of emotion, whether that's throwing the helmet, whether that's facial expression and body language, maybe you should listen to your franchise quarterback that you are investing 50 plus million a year, because that's your quarterback that moves the offense, the play caller. So I just don't know with where fate is in store. But listen, if this doesn't get fixed in the next couple of years, I don't blame Joe Burrow for wanting to leave. I don't. Cheap ownership doesn't quite want to support. This is usually what happens. When you are a cheap organization or a cheap business and you're basically penny pinching a lot of your great assets in your business, what do you think they're going to do? They're going to want to leave. And listen, the money will come. The money will speak for itself. But seek great assets, seek great management, because those are hard to come by. All right. Good stuff. We got a lot really to kind of break down. I mean, we got our special 10 draft picks right now, because I think we have an idea there. Yeah, I mean, I think this was the best way in context to really kind of break down what last night really was. I know officiating has been so bad in the regular season this year, and that's what really needs to be fixed. But it also doesn't dismiss the fact that I'm watching two MVPs literally play at the highest level. And Joe Burrow, what does it got to take for him to finally get the support that he deserves and needs in Cincinnati? I'm just not seeing this right now.
Yeah, I mean, with the absence of Jesse Bates, the absence of DJ Reader on the defensive line, you're missing a lot of pieces that ended up walking and going to different places this offseason. Just those two alone have really, impacted the defense drastically. And for a fact that if they were there, this defense would be a lot better.
Yeah, no, it would. And listen, Joe Burrow this year, I just think it's so unbelievable. The fact that he has 24 touchdowns and 4 picks, completing 68% of his throws, and you can't help this kid. You can't help him. And what's funny is that this is a kid that grew up in the best parts, of the country. Okay. And he learned a lot of adversity. And he's not out there complaining, wilding out. He's speaking it as it is. And this was kind of the lesson for a lot of our youth. Is when you have this bad management, okay, if you've got support to stand behind it, that this is terrible management, then all you want to do is put your arms around Joe Burrow. You want to support. And that's initially with where this is right now with Cincinnati. I just think it's kind of sad and embarrassing.
If they had a better defense, you would see this Bengals team probably 7-2 right now. Easily a playoff team. I mean, the 2 games that they lost to the Ravens was one in overtime because of a blocked field goal.
Yep. And
then this one because of Zach Taylor's stupid mistake to go for 1. Or to go for 2 instead of go for 1. I understand that I think that, if the Bengals miss the playoffs again this year, they might start looking at it as maybe they'll fire Zach Taylor. Because this ownership, now that the daughter took over, is a lot different than what it has been in years past. And she may not want mediocrity. She may see this team team has the ability to go all the way and make it to the playoffs and make it to the Super Bowl, but we need help around him. And we need to make sure that there's a lot of play calls that Zach Taylor has made and a lot of dumb decisions that he's made that cost them at least 3 games this season.
Yeah,
at least 3.
It's so bad. It's so bad. And my big thing, my takeaway on this is that my takeaway on this, for example, is that I just look at this and look, I love Zach Taylor. I really do. I think he's a great guy. I don't think he's terrible offensively on that side of the ball. I don't think so. I just think that if the Bengals fire him, then what are you going to do having to build a relationship now around Joe Burrow? What are you going to do with that? Because you may go and get the next potential successor if that's the case. But if this becomes the same similar result, I mean, you don't think Joe Burrow might storm into the Browns office and literally say, dude, I can't do this. I cannot not have support here around me. I want out because you already fired Zach Taylor, and then all of a sudden it's still the same similar result no matter who the coach is. Then that's when it becomes an organizational problem. I mean, think about it. It's like I said, Herbert since his rookie year, his defenses were so below. They were below the 20s. And so by that point, when Jim Harbaugh came in, now look at what the Chargers are with the defense. Justin Herbert's now having a lot of fun playing, and it's more situational. That's why I'm like you. And that's the other funny thing, too, is you look at, like we said about Josh Allen. If you gave Josh Allen a run game, He could stay healthy. The defense getting younger, it's going to get better from here. But it's like now we're seeing Joe Burrow, and it's like, this is not working. That DC is just, he looks lost out there.
He does, and I do think that they need a change at DC as well. Like, if they fired Lua Anarumo this year and hired, like, maybe a Robert Saleh and everything, the defense would be a lot better. Or draft somebody in the first round that's going to make a big impact on your defensive line and or in the defensive backfield, because they're definitely those are their 2 weak points on their defense right now. And then I would also sit here and say that Burrow deserves the MVP. I'm not saying Lamar doesn't and everything, but Lamar didn't deserve it last year. He shouldn't have won it. It should have been either Christian McCaffrey or like Dak Prescott or somebody. But this year,
the way that was going, absolutely.
Yeah, and this year, like, if Lamar wins it, it's only because he's going to get his team in the playoffs and Burrow's not. Like, if Burrow gets his team into the playoffs by his play alone, absolutely he deserves it more than Lamar does. But, like, I can already hear the Ravens fanboys, talking after Lamar wins his third MVP, and that's going to be irritating.
Well, I mean, here's the thing, though. At least I am seeing, and I know that some people may kind of like contest to it, but I mean, you're watching with him, and I mean, Derrick Henry's having a hell of a year. Scoring this many times, I mean, I just think with how like this offense has been playing, I mean, that's probably by far the best rushing duo I think I've seen in a very long time. With the
and
two,
see, like,
it works.
To me, I think that Burrow deserves it more because look at what he's doing. He's doing it without T. Higgins. He's got Jamar Chase. I understand, but he's got guys like Mike Gesicki making plays. Tanner Hudson caught a touchdown yesterday. Then you got Andre Yosevich, and then you also have, Jermaine Burton. I mean, I would sit here and say that, and like very little run game. I'd say Derrick Henry's a way better running back. Zay Flowers is better than any number 2 that the Bengals, or number 3 or 4 that the Bengals have. They got Deontay Johnson on that team. They got Rashad Bateman, who's been playing a lot better. I do sit here and think that, Joe Burrow deserves it more because of his, ability to carry his team to wins than what Lamar does.
Yeah. Now, again, like I said, I agree that from a statistical standpoint, you've heard me say this multiple times. I would take Joe Burrow more than anything. But the problem of it is he's on a leash with this organization, and they're pulling him back so much. That's why his MVP cases has just been so hindered. That's what they're looking at. And, and again, we could talk about this over and over and over again. But this is kind of how that some of these writers, this is how they work it. And, and again, we would love for them to honestly think about it and get it right. But I would not be surprised if this is just what it is. Like, you know what I mean? It would be, again, it would make the day that he is the MVP. But I think a lot of people are looking at it of like, well, he is putting the statistics, but his team is not winning. And that's where I think a lot of that kind of pulls him back. I agree the same way. I mean, you've been hearing me say this. Like, I would prefer him to be the MVP, but sometimes writers have it a different way. So, but all right, good stuff. We got our 10 draft picks to start with to kind of give an idea with the teams right now that are kind of sitting at it, because right now I think we have a very good idea of who we know the teams that are clearly going to be drafting needed positions here. And that's what we're going to end up doing from here with Chase and myself. We're going to break it down, and we've got a lot to talk about as well, and prime predictions as well as we get ready for a very fun NFL weekend, plus early morning game with the Panthers and with the Giants. I don't care for it, honestly. I think it's a stay away game for me because of just how horrendous both of them have played. But we'll get into that. All right, folks. Well, like we've said, we promised the NFL season has been so primed up with a lot of our betting lines through our fabulous sportsbook from BetUS. It's not only just the NFL season that has been on fire. The NBA season has been fun to watch. The NHL season has also started, and it's been fun to watch. College football as well. By the way, these are important 3 weeks for a lot of college football programs before we get into the conference championships. So bet on them as quick as you can to get yourself into the action at BetUS.com. When you sign up with your personal account manager, when you sign up $50 or more into your deposit, 125% bonuses with 3 deposits. That guarantees up to $2,000. More the fun, more the opportunities for you to win big. So BetUS is willing to give you the best experience and, of course, the best class sports book in America for over 30 years. Gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER or seek therapy in your respective states today, because we want you to gamble responsibly with using BetUS. BetUS, where game begins.
Looking for a show with the best takes and opinions? Want a show with the best coverage around the world of sports? Jam-packed with an all-star interview lineup? Then the best place to find it all, sports and entertainment, is right here. Join Jake Silva on the Snake Sports Talk Show, presented by SeatGeek and BetUS. Weeknights at 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 Pacific on Sports Wave Network.
Want to find your seat for the event of your choice but can't get one that fits your desire or your budget? Well, my friends, SeatGeek has you covered. SeatGeek is the official sponsor of the Snake Sports Talk Show. With a list of over hundreds of events to choose from, SeatGeek will assure you that you won't miss your seat with the amazing view of your choice at the most affordable price. Whether it's looking for your best seat in the house of your favorite sports team, finding live concerts that get you closer to your favorite artist, or enjoying your spot at your favorite live shows, comedies, and more, SeatGeek has it all just for you. Go online to SeatGeek.com or download the app on your mobile device through Google Play and the App Store. And as a special offer before checkout, use promo code SNAKESPORTS and save yourself $20 off of your purchase of your first ticket, and experience why SeatGeek is the most trusted ticketing app for your next event. Remember, that's SeatGeek.com, and download the app on your phone with promo code SNAKESPORTS for $20 off and find your seat with SeatGeek.
All right, so Chase and myself, we thought about it. We talked this over before the show started, but I figured we would get the opportunity to do something fun from here. So, okay, we have an idea of the 10 teams that we know right now from where it stands, and right now the 10 teams that we see that are clearly in rebuild mode thus far has been the Patriots at number 1, the Jags at 2, New Orleans at 3, Carolina at 4, Cleveland 5, Raiders at 6, and then the Giants at 7. So we got at least 3 more as well down the stretch, but we figured we would start this up. So we are going to end up showing this off to everybody and kind of get an idea what everybody's going to end up taking from here, because it's a defensive year this year. All right. So to kindly break this down, so here's what we know that we have right now. So New England Patriots, they want offensive weapons, but they also like having a defensive weapon as well. So to me, number one overall pick, and it seems very clear and very obvious, it would be Travis Hunter from Colorado. Because here's the thing, between both him and Christian Gonzalez, that's a shutdown corner on each side of the ball. And I like it because at least I know Christian Gonzalez, when he's fully healthy, he's a shutdown type corner. Loved watching him play at Oregon. And I think you pair him up with Travis Hunter, it's going to work. And the other thing is, too, is that Travis Hunter, if you were to use him as a wide receiver, he's a gadget guy. So that means, because New England is the number one overall spending cap space right now in the league next year. So they're going to want to buy weapons. They're going to want to buy some guys. So that'll leave Drake May in the perfect situation to where he can get offensive weapons, he can get an offensive line, and that's exactly where I think may happen. So I will take that into consideration for Travis Hunter and the New England Patriots. Now, the Jags, here's what's the hardest part. They need a defense, okay? And they also need an offensive line. So to me personally, with where it sits, I'm going to go with Will Johnson from Michigan. Because right now, the secondary for the Jags is god-awful. It's so bad to the point that, like, Josh Hines-Allen is doing everything he needs to get pressure, and you're watching Trayvon Walker. So right now, the secondary is just not giving him any justice. I think Will Johnson, because a Michigan product, where Michigan is a very defensive type culture, this is what's really serving them very, very well. So I think it would be right for them to get somebody like that. So I would take that into consideration, and I would draft Will Johnson in the end of it. So this is interesting because right now, the New Orleans Saints, they sit at 3. So
there's many directions you can go here. There's
so many.
You know, I know that, you know, to me, if it were me, you're going to be drafting for the future. You know, You got Cam Jordan on one of the last few years of his contract. You've got guys, like a guy like that. Chase Young is just a 1-year rental and everything. And you are going to want to start fresh and, you know, make sure that you got a lot of cap space. I would either go with Abdul Carter or James Pierce here at the edge rushers.
I will tell you what.
Out of Tennessee or Penn State.
Now, here's an interesting one that I will tell you that I think could actually work. I'm going to go with Mason Graham, the D-line, because here's my thing. You just said it yourself. Cam Jordan is getting up there in age, and they could go get an edge rusher, but here's the difference about it, though. They have a lot of stuff that they got to owe. Okay, they got $81 million in cap that they are over the top at. They need to start shedding some cap. So it has to be, it's time for a youth movement for the New Orleans Saints. So I think with pairing up a guy like that, I think it would be perfect in this situation. So I do believe this will be something that'll be interesting, but I do think that Mason Graham, what he brings is he brings a lot of juice, he brings a lot of fight, and I do believe that is something that is worth noting from here that they should consider. Now, so this is probably, and it's hard to say with the Carolina Panthers because of the fact the quarterback situation for them. This seems pretty interesting in this particular spot. But if I'm the Carolina Panthers, because I do believe I would not be
I would go with it. There's two options I would go with here. Number one, I'd probably go with Calvin Banks to protect Bryce Young and give him some, you know, help on that O-line so he's not running for his life. Or you could go with Teteroa and McMillan and give him another weapon to actually throw the ball downfield to.
So
somebody on that side of the somebody that would actually be a good deep threat.
So my thought, I would go with Kelvin Banks as well. And the reason of this is because you want a quarterback to work. Well, here's your problem. Even if you gave him another talented wide receiver, what's guaranteed that that talented receiver is going to produce with a very bad offensive line? I think if you get Kelvin Banks, that should help you on at least the blind side of things, on the tackle side, because that's where majority of a lot of those quarterbacks, when you have a left tackle, the quarterback will work in so many ways. And now here's the other thing, though, too. You also look at the quarterbacks that their stocks have dropped, okay? And that's your Quinn Ewers, that's your Carson Becks, that's your guys there that you can bring as a development quarterback. Because I do think that Bryce Young is going to get traded, but this is where you keep Andy Dalton for this reason, because he's a bridge type. He's done this. You give it a better shot and a better opportunity where now this is organic growth. Because if you just throw a rookie quarterback out there with nothing to work with, this is not going to work. I think you need to get a healthier offensive line and especially a tackle so that way the transition from Dalton to the next rookie quarterback, it will work better because you're just out there throwing him out there to fail. So I think offensive tackle would work best in my opinion. Now, I know you're going to smile hard on this one because pick number 5, I do believe Cam Ward would go to the Cleveland Browns.
It's a no-brainer. You cannot pick anybody else other than Cam Ward at this point in time.
The reason for this is because this offensive line will be developing again. But we just saw with what Jaden Daniels has done with a terrible O-line. Cam Ward, I'm not saying he's Jaden Daniels, but he's mobile enough to open up space. He creates a lot of room for wide receivers. When they get open, he's going to throw it accurately. And what I'm watching in Miami, I don't think this is any fluke. I mean, the kid is already considered in the top 5 in the Heisman running. But the thing you got to respect is that this is why Cam Ward came back to college. Because he had to develop. It's because he had to gain experience. And so when you take on an organization like Cleveland, you're better off to, at the very least, get a quarterback and fix the offensive line as it goes. I really do think that this was the better option. Now, the Las Vegas Raiders, as you know, in pick 6, because they may actually potentially go higher. Now, if they land the 2 spot, things might get a little interesting down there. But I do believe this is a perfect spot for the Las Vegas Raiders to draft Shedeur Sanders. Here's my reasoning for this. Shedeur and the Sanders family have connections with the Raiders. Okay, they've been in several talks. If you look at his social media on X, he's tweeting about it all the time. And a friend of mine who's very close with the Raiders organization, he's confirmed this himself to me. This is where the movement of the Raiders is going. They'll have plenty of money in cap. And my guess is you get your franchise quarterback, you could then go and build that offensive line through free agency and in the draft. Defensive players will come, but at least we'll see what happens with Max Crosby during the offseason. But I think if you give him some promise in here, look, we got a very special player coming in. We just have to build the offensive line around him. We can maybe go get one more weapon, but I like Jacoby Myers. I like Trey Tucker. I think they have some guys to work with. So I would take Shedeur Sanders there at number 6. Now, number 7, I do not believe that they need another weapon. I really don't believe that the Giants do because they already have Malik Neighbors and they have a couple others. That offensive line looks pretty bad, but to be honest with you, I think as far as quarterback is concerned, I could see the Giants drafting Jalen Milroe. Here's the reason for this. Daniel Jones, they want to get out of this. They do not believe he is, like, you tried to sell me that Daniel Jones is capable of $45 million a year. I don't see it. I'm seeing how atrocious that it's getting week in and week out. I think the offensive weapons makes Daniel Jones look good because Daniel all he has to do is just put the ball in play. Just put the ball in the spots, and then he'll look good. But that's why I'm like, I'm not going to be fooled by it. I think, honestly, they should draft a quarterback at this point. The offensive line, as long as they get the draft picks, they should be fine from there. The Dolphins in this position, now this is interesting because I have looked at that offensive line for the Miami Dolphins, and it's not as great. And Tua is crossing your fingers that he doesn't get another concussion protocol. But I think this is a perfect opportunity to get Will Campbell from LSU. I think the kid on the other sides of things, because you have Teron Armstead, and you've also got a couple other pieces up front. Now, my big takeaway is that if you could solidify the other side, it will make things a lot better for Tua. And maybe he'll have a healthier offensive line in front of him. Because, again, if he's on concussion protocols again, I'd say you hang this up. But don't be surprised that if the Dolphins do draft a quarterback somewhere in this draft, because I just think I'm not believing in Skylar Thompson. I'm not believing in Tyler Huntley, honestly. But I think you do need to have a bridge in there for a reason. So it's nothing against Tua, but I think we're looking out for his health. But I think more than anything, if you're going to pay this much amount of money for Tua, I'd say you go and give him another offensive line. Now, the Tennessee Titans, this is interesting to me because I do believe they need to go and get a weapon. And I think Tertoa McMillan, I think, would be the perfect answer because here's my problem with this. So DeAndre Hopkins, he's gone. Treylon Burks, that you drafted after post A.J. Brown, he hasn't lived up to the hype. They have literally not a whole lot of weapons to work with. So I think McMillan may help this offense because Brian Callahan, offensive-minded coach, I mean, the defense is going to get better. But if you work up the offensive line, you work up to get weapons around, and even if Will Levis, because Levis, I know people are very questionable about. And then, hey, they might draft a quarterback. I don't know. But I think more than anything, I think this is the perfect opportunity that you need to get somebody like that in the room. Because, look, the Giants did this when having Daniel Jones there, and everybody's all sold out on Daniel Jones, but at least they got a star weapon out there. Now they just need to get offensive line, and they need to go and draft the quarterback later on. I could see the Titans literally do this because think about it. What if they get a weapon, and let's say the Titans somewhere in the middle, they go and draft Quinn Ewers? That's quite a possibility. So I think the Titans very much be in this area. Now, finally, here's the New York Jets. I think, and I'll be honest with you, I think they're going to run this one more year with Aaron Rodgers. The only thing that I really would see them do is I think they probably would go with a defensive player, and I think they go and take Abdul Carter because I do believe that they're going to get another edge rusher because Hassan Reddick has already been making a lot of that noise, and then yet he finally got his contract all fixed up. It was a lot of noise, but I think you really need to pair up and get another edge rusher from there. So that's kind of where I stand with a lot of these draft picks. So as of now, in these last few draft picks, if I'm able to see them, But that's exactly with where I'm at here with a lot of these drafts. I think it just seems about right. I could see the Titans getting McMillan. I can see the Jets getting an edge rusher because of Hassan Reddick. I do think that with where things stand out for because the Giants, I think they are going to take Jalen Milroe. I just smell it because right now it's not working with Daniel Jones. And I think with Jalen Milroe, what's funny about it is that he made Daniel Jones work. The problem is that Jones is so limited. With Jalen Milroe, he's an RPO quarterback. He's accurate, and he does not make a ton of mistakes. And could you imagine that pairing with him and Malik Neighbors? Yeah. I mean, the two of them faced off SEC players. So they, you could only imagine with what that relationship would look like. So
It is true. I mean, you never really know. I mean, I can't wait to show you what my 10 picks are and everything. I got a few of them that are different than what yours are and everything, but it's just going to be, it's going to be interesting because I've got a different mindset when it comes to the Giants because Joe Shane is that type of guy that he has no regard for what anybody else thinks. Everybody wanted Saquon Barkley there in the building still. He said, no, we're going to get rid of him. We're going to let him walk. We're not going to try to get him back or anything. He thinks that, the best possible way for a quarterback to succeed is to get weapons. So when the Giants pick comes up, I'll let you know what my thought process is on that one.
So I'm assuming we both agree that New England is going to take Travis Hunter. No doubt.
I mean, we saw it once with J.J. Watt when he towards the end of his career when he started playing the offensive side of the ball and how dominant he was looking. I do feel like Hunter will be more defense, but then you'll also see him come in like trick plays, maybe special packages and everything.
Gadget player, yeah.
Yeah, you're gonna see that, and I'm gonna go right along with you with Will Johnson being the pick for the Jacksonville Jaguars. He is the second best corner in this draft, and I do think that is the weak point of the Jacksonville Jaguars is their secondary. They need all the help that they can get back there.
I don't think, now that I think about it, I don't even think we've had back-to-back corners taken in the first two picks, have we?
Yeah, we have.
Oh,
or no, not in the first two picks. No.
Yeah, that's where I was like, yeah, that would be so surprising, and that would make draft night if that ever happened.
It would be.
Oh my God.
I don't think we've had a corner selected number one overall, period, ever.
Probably not since Charles Woodson.
Was he selected number one?
I think he was with the Raiders, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah,
Okay.
But you know what though? Look at his career.
He was the only defensive MVP in the league that I can remember. That's insane. But number four here. Number four, we're gonna go with Abdul Carter for them.
Wow, you're gonna go with Abdul Carter to the Saints?
I'm going to go with Abdul Carter to the Saints because, like I said earlier, they need with Cam Jordan getting older, Chase Young being a one-year rental.
Okay,
they're going to want to beef up that defensive line and that also that interior. But I feel like they're going to do that later on in the draft. And the Saints have given up a lot of points this year, a lot. Yeah, and I feel like not getting a lot of pressure on the quarterback and everything has had something to do with that. So I'd say start young where you can and get one of the most important positions on the field covered in edge rusher. Same thing with the Carolina Panthers. I'm going to go with James Pierce, the edge rusher out of Tennessee. I know that O-line is very important and you want to protect Bryce Young, but this is a very O-line heavy draft. I've already taken a look at the prospects. This is a defense and O-line heavy draft. You're going to be able to find O-line in the second rounds and a very good defensive tackle. If you're picking up this high in the draft, you got to be able to take a defensive tackle a defensive end and one that's going to make an impact after you gave away Brian Burns.
Okay.
Going on to number 4, it's going to be Cam Ward. I mean, there's no question about it. You cannot go another year without picking a quarterback, or you can't sit here and pick Will Campbell or Talvin Banks or whatever, or pick up Ashton Genty. I mean, even if we picked up Ashton Genty, I wouldn't really mind that one. I'd be okay with that. But you can't go other options and then, build the team elsewhere and then wait until the 2026 draft and then draft a quarterback, because who knows we don't know if Nico Iamaleava is going to be in the draft. We don't know if Arch Manning's going to be in the draft. We don't even know if Dylan Raiola is going to be in that draft or not. So you cannot bank on these guys being there. You've got to take a guy that if you have to start Deshaun Watson next year and then release him after the 2025 season's over with and then start Cam Ward in 2026, by all means do that, because I'd rather sit Cam Ward for a year and let him learn the league than to sit there and mess him up his first year.
Yeah, I agree.
Moving on to the Raiders, I'm going to go with Shedeur Sanders. I mean, after every time the Raiders have lost, he has messaged on Twitter, thank God, because I think that he really wants to go to the Las Vegas Raiders.
Yeah.
And,
I think it was pretty clear. It was very obvious from the get-go. I see social media posts. I mean, he's been in what's funny is that he's very close with Tom Brady. Like Tom Brady's in his back pocket. So he's getting a lot of expert advice, and it just seemed very obvious. It seemed pretty clear.
So here is where I have a shakeup in the draft happening, because Joe Shane has been known to go off the rails and not go in line with the different picks. And I have him choosing Tetaroa McMillan out of Arizona.
Another weapon, huh?
Another weapon, because now you have him, a guy who is about 6'3", 6'4", and can take the top off the defense as well. But pairing him with Malik Neighbors, and then I see Joe Shane trading back into the first round and getting a guy in the late first round, like a Quinn Ewers, a Carson Beck, maybe a Jackson Dart or somebody like that.
Yeah,
somebody that you could sit there and you could pair with Brian Daboll, and you could see him bring in like maybe a Quinn Ewers, and then now you have a weapon in Tetaroa McMillan. You got Malik Neighbors, and then they also got Theo Johnson, and now you're going to try to get a running back later on in the draft, maybe an Ollie Gordon, maybe a Quinshawn Judkins, maybe a Omarion Hampton, somebody like that you could pair on that offense, and now your offense just looks a whole lot better than what it did last year.
Okay, I like the thought. I like it.
See, I'm thinking.
It's interesting because the Giants have just so many options that they can go with in this draft. So
yeah,
all right.
they do.
We got 3 picks left to do.
So here is where the Dolphins pick's a little difficult, because I know that they need defensive help badly, and they need offensive help badly as well. But with a guy like Mason Graham still on the board, you cannot pass up a defensive tackle of his caliber. I'm going to choose Mason Graham right there for the Miami Dolphins, because he is possibly the best defensive tackle in this draft. And to get interior help after losing Christian Wilkins, you definitely need it.
All right.
So here is where I see Jalen Milroe coming off the board to the Tennessee Titans, because we have heard from Brian Callahan himself that they are going to look at all the options that they can this offseason, and they are looking to move on from Will Levis. And if they can get a dual threat guy that can run and throw the ball like Jalen Milroe, I'm not really high on the guy. I don't really like him that much. I do not want the Browns to get him. I really hope we don't. But I could see a guy like the Tennessee Titans jump on him at any chance that they can get.
Yeah, well, I agree. I mean, I think it's a very good thought. And like I said, I know the Titans would go quarterback, but I'm not sure. Like, is it going to be early or is it going to be in the mid? I just don't know. But if this did come to the point, I mean, that's very possible for the Titans to really go there.
And with the 10th pick, I am going to have the best offensive tackle prospect in this draft going to the New York Jets in Calvin Banks. Because here's the thing, Tyron Smith is getting really old. He's going to be at his last 1 to 2 years left of his contract. And then I understand you got Olu Fashanu. What they're going to do is they're going to put Olu Fashanu on the right side, and then they're going to put Calvin Banks on the left side. Now you got 2 bookend tackles, kind of like a Chargers situation with Rashawn Slater and Joe Alt. You got 2 bookend tackles that are going to be able to protect Aaron Rodgers next year and going to be able to make plays happen. Now you've got a much better offensive line to upgrade, and you've got guys the likes of Breece Hall that can run behind that good offensive line now, and guys like Braylon Allen, and it gives Rodgers more time to throw the ball to Garrett Wilson and stuff like that.
I like that. And you know what the other thing is too, because if you're running this one year with Aaron Rodgers, the least that you could do is fix that O-line, because it is developing. I mean, Elijah Vera-Tucker, you bring in a guy like Kelvin Banks, you have Olu Fashanu, who was one of my top 10 best draftees coming into the draft, because I love the size that he brought, because I think he's much more athletic than what Mekhi Becton was. But I think the difference was the Jets could not use Becton the best of his capabilities. Yeah. I'm watching him right now in Philadelphia, and I think he's very much has improved. But I think if you have Fashanu, I like that thought. Having Fashanu there, Calvin Banks on the other side, I think you could look at a situation like that. And I think it would benefit on both ends. so that it would give him time to throw. But like I said, it's all on Aaron Rodgers at the end of the day, whether he can make that happen. But here's the other thing. The two spots is there's the Cowboys and the Bengals, just to add two more. But this is the prime spot where I think the Cowboys should, I don't know if they will, but they should draft Ashton Jeanty.
They cannot pass up on Ashton Jeanty. That's what I was saying. I was going to say
the rushing group is so horrible that I'm like, you can't tell me that that's literally landed on your lap and Jerry Jones doesn't take him. I mean, look, you can re-sign Zeke for one more year, but he should be your red zone option more than anything else. I've seen him in the red zone with the Patriots. That's what they utilized him for. And so you bring in Jeanty, who does a lot of that work, and you work that offensive line, then the Cowboys would be straight. I said it before. Trade away some of these defensive guys. Work on your offense, because right now you're paying Dak this much money. You have to make him work. You have no other choice. And then the Bengals, you know what's funny about that? They may end up drafting that LSU tackle right there. I
actually got them choosing Kenneth Grant, the other defensive tackle from Michigan. That is the one that I could see going there, because they know that with the absence of DJ Reader up the middle, Kenneth Grant is a great run stopper, and they know for a fact, I shit you not, if they go with another tackle this year, I'm going to lose my mind, and so is Tim. Tim is going to lose his mind. But I will sit here and say I do think that they are going to go defense, and I think that they're going to go with Kenneth Grant.
Well, hopefully they can get the DC right. But yeah. All right. Well, to kind of fire this one away, our Week 10 prime predictions. We did well with picking the Bengals and the points, knowing the Ravens were going to win that game, but it was not as easy as most people thought it was. I was very happy with going with the Bengals on that pick. So here we go with the rest of our picks on prime predictions.
Let's turn it up. It's Jake's prime predictions.
All right, so for me, the first game, the Giants and the Panthers, it looks like an absolute snooze fest overseas. I'm going to take the Giants points here up on this one. I know Daniel Jones doesn't look that great, but neither do the Carolina Panthers. And from what I was told, Bryce Young is going to start again for the Carolina Panthers. And it just tells you right now that this is just not the right season. They've already traded away Deontay Johnson. They've already given up a couple players. Now, the other difference of it is Jonathan Brooks will be back. So we get a chance to see the Texas rookie actually get a chance to run. They also extended Chuba Hubbard to a 4-year extension deal. So he's going to be sticking around for quite some time. But I think the Giants, as far as the defensive front, that defensive front is really going to feast on this offensive line that has been struggling to protect Bryce Young. I think it's going to be an ugly game either way, but I will take the Giants 6.5 points, 27-20 on the road. All right, Josh Allen and the Buffalo Bills, they have been cooking. I will take the -4 over the Indianapolis Colts on the road. Now listen, this Amari Cooper pickup has really been helping out guys like Keon Coleman and Khalil Shakir for multiple reasons. It's opening up the offense, which is what we've been asking for a while. You give Josh Allen a run game. By the way, the defense has also been playing pretty well. And the Bills, this is their destiny right now. They want to win the division, and they want to get back into the playoffs. The Colts, they feel like the playoff position is not out of their reach just yet. With Joe Flacco there, they have a lot of these options that they have with Jonathan Taylor, Josh Downs, Michael Pittman, and A.D. Mitchell. They do not want to end up losing a lot of that. I will take the Buffalo Bills against the Colts because I do believe, though, the Bills, the last time they faced an AFC South opponent, it didn't look great, but I think they want to clean that up, and against the Colts on the road, I'll take the Bills -4, 27-21. I know not a lot of you are still sold on the Minnesota Vikings. I still am. I'm going to go -7, especially when you're playing against the Jacksonville Jaguars on the road. That clearly is a dumpster fire. They lost Christian Kirk for the remainder of the year. They traded away. By the way, they traded away Cam Robinson to the Vikings. The Vikings now have a backup left tackle with Christian Darrisaw out for the entirety of the year. And Cam Robinson looked very, very good. This feels like, to me, this may be a payback game for Cam Robinson with the way that the Jags have looked. But this Jags team, I mean, it's got sorry written all over it. I don't know when Doug Peterson may end up getting fired from the Jacksonville Jaguars, but it's got to happen at some point soon. But I'll take the Minnesota Vikings against that defense. They are just going to put Trevor Lawrence through so much duress. Losing their left tackle is a big deal. And I think that the Vikings are going to take advantage of that. -7, 28-17. So this is the game of the week, the Pittsburgh Steelers and the Washington Commanders. You better believe that I'm going to take the Pittsburgh Steelers at +3. I love the defense. Here's the other thing. Russell Wilson, in the first 2 games that he's played, has actually played like the Russell Wilson of the Seahawks. And my takeaway of it is I love Jaden Daniels. But a lot of people have been saying, who have they been playing? I hate it when people say that. But my thing is, this is a real test because the offensive line hasn't been able to get tested against a very big defense like the Pittsburgh Steelers. Plus, they added in some over-the-top help. They've added in a backup edge rusher with Preston Smith, having TJ Watt on the other side. I think it's going to be a tight game because I think Jaden Daniels, what a lot of people need to realize is he's a snap-and-go quarterback. And I don't think it'll be the Steelers dominating. I think Jaden Daniels is smart enough to climb the Commanders out of those holes. I'll take the Pittsburgh Steelers +3 to win on the road to mess up the win streak that the Commanders have, 24-23. I didn't like too much of Atlanta for financial reasons, but I like Atlanta against the New Orleans Saints on the road. I'll take them at -3.5. The Falcons and Kirk Cousins, they have been playing very, very good situational football. The only difference of it is that just the point margins just haven't been in our favor at all when you look at the sports books. But I think this one in particular, the Falcons, they are a very good brand football team. The defense has also been playing very, very well, even without getting the sacks. That's a problem right now for them. But I was hoping they would have addressed that in the trade deadline. That didn't happen. But at least I get a very good, tough secondary against a New Orleans Saints team that fired their head coach, lost Chris Olave, lost Rashid Shaheed. This looks like an absolute mess. Give me the Falcons against their division rival, 24-17 on the road. All right, so I think me personally, with the way things are looking, I do not like the 9 points for the Chiefs. I really like the +9 for the Denver Broncos for a few reasons. Let me tell you something. I don't think this is the Chiefs' game to lose, but it's not going to be a game that's going to guarantee me 9 points. It's ugly. I don't like it. Now, the Denver Broncos last week, they got humiliated against the Baltimore Ravens at 41-10. What do you think is going to happen with teams that get embarrassed and humiliated in the previous week? They're going to want to come out swinging, and they're going to want to fight. And I think the Denver Broncos, they're going to give a bit of a fight for the Kansas City Chiefs, but I still do believe the Chiefs would win it. With the +9 from there against the Chiefs, I can see the Chiefs winning this one against the Denver Broncos, but it'll be a fun one, but very close as the narrative has been for the Chiefs, 24-23. This was a tricky one for me personally with just the way that Baker Mayfield has been playing, but because Christian McCaffrey's coming back, I'm going to take the 49ers and the -6.5. You know that Brock Purdy in that offense has been playing nothing but floater games because right now they've just been waiting for Christian McCaffrey to get back and healthy. Now, with him and Jordan Mason, and here's the other thing too, when Christian McCaffrey, this is a known statistical fact, when he comes back out and he's healthy on the field, that means Deebo Samuel and George Kittle actually have their best games when he's playing. So with Christian McCaffrey back out on the field, it's going to be a lot better of an offense that the 49ers are going to run. I think defensively, they definitely have to help hold up. But I think against this Buccaneers team, it may be interesting, but I could see this to where they may get one more point ahead of themselves. I'll take the Niners here on the road in Tampa. It may not be easy, but I will take it 27-20. So after what we saw from the Chicago Bears and that kind of humiliating play and the last 2 weeks off a bye, they got embarrassed by the Commanders. They get embarrassed by the Cardinals. I mean, this looks pretty atrocious, but I think against the New England Patriots, they might have a chance. I'll take the Bears at -6. I'm giving them one last hope because I like Caleb Williams and I like some of the pieces on offense, but this has to work. And 2 back-to-back embarrassing weeks is really bad. And I think they need to change that up. So I'm going to take the Bears here on the at home. I think the defense really does play strong against their opponents at home. So I'll take them here 28-21. This is an interesting game, but I do think Mason Rudolph is going to be playing for the Tennessee Titans this week. I'm going to take the Chargers points at -8. This Titans team has just been decimated with injuries on defense. They have played good, but here's the other key injury here. That's why the offense is going to play well. L'Jarius Sneed is out, and he's not going to be playing. So that means the aerial game is going to be open for what Justin Herbert and the Chargers have been doing since the bye week. If you look at since the bye, Justin Herbert is averaging almost over 265 passing yards since the first 4 weeks. So Justin Herbert's been humming at the pass game. Hopefully DJ Chark does play because that has been an ongoing situation for the last few weeks. I have the Chargers here winning this one and comfortably, and I think the Chargers defense continues to dominate before they get into primetime next week. I see the Chargers winning 27-17. Now, I know that I don't always usually take the Jets in these kinds of situations, but I'm going to take the Jets with just a -1. At least it's easier this way. I think with the way that Aaron Rodgers has been kind of going about it, and especially with Kyler Murray, look, they've been humming. They are first in the NFC West, but I don't see this team, potentially continuing to build upon that. I think it'll be different. I think in the end, the Jets, they want to get back into this win column. They've already gotten the win the previous week, and they got plenty of rest. This means this could be an opportunity for them to take away a win against the Arizona Cardinals. Now, on a -1, that's about more than enough that I need, but I don't think it'll be a great game. It might get ugly, but I think the Jets might pull away with a win. I'll take them 23-20. Now, this game from here, the Texans, this is what's hard for me. Stephon Diggs out for the season. You could see, too, the offensive line looks pretty suspect. And against a Detroit Lions team who has been playing with nothing but pride and grit, I'm going to take the Lions here on the road at 3.5. I think it seems about right. This offensive line has not been giving C.J. Stroud any justice, even though I love C.J. Stroud. But if you can't protect him, that's where a lot of your key losses are also coming from. And because the defense is also doing everything that they can to stop the offense in their tracks. But against Jared Goff and against Sonic and Knuckles and Jahmyr Gibbs and David Montgomery, that's not going to be an easy task for the Texans here on the road. They've been playing great football. Jared Goff, that I'd say, is making an MVP case, but he's kind of slowly creeping in. But I think the Lions, they're playing with a purpose, they're playing with pride, and they want to go all the way with this thing. I'm going to take the Lions here on the road. It'll be a fun game through and through. Lions end up winning here on the road 28-23. And finally here, the Dolphins and the Rams. This might shock you. I'm going to take the Rams here at home in SoFi. This team is already winning 3 straight games now, and the reason of it is because when Puka Nacua, Cooper Kupp, and Matt Stafford are healthy, this team wins more, and this team plays with heart. So that's where I think the Rams, against a Dolphins team that is trying to pick themselves back up, I don't trust most of that offensive line for Tua and the way that the offense is. By the way, have you seen Jared Verse this year? Boy, is he looking good. I think the Rams defense, they're slowly kind of trying to pick things up. Now, they traded away Tre'Davious White. Hopefully, they're going to make some openings for the corners, but I trust the offense of the Rams. I'll take them here to win at home in SoFi 24-20 against the Dolphins. And so for that, there's our prime predictions. Chase, anything to add to kind of change some things up?
I mean, I've got the Panthers winning in the international game starting on Sunday. I do think that the 49ers are going to come out and beat the Bucks without Mike Evans being on that team until after the bye week. I mean,
I would have thought differently if if Christian McCaffrey wasn't starting.
Yeah.
I would have said maybe I would have taken the Bucks by a slight edge. But because CMC's coming back, you've seen it. This offense plays different. And I'm looking at Debo. I'm looking at Kittle. Those are some impactful guys that when he's on the field, they have such good field days.
Yeah, and I have the Commanders versus Commanders over the Steelers. Mac Jones is starting for the Jags since Trevor's out. I still got the Vikings. I actually had the Patriots over the Bears. Because Drake May's been playing very, very well the past few games, and I do think that having him go up against the Bears, I know that defense for the Bears is great, but Caleb Williams does not look good. I actually had the Cowboys beating the Eagles only because one, it's Cooper Rush. Cooper Rush went like 6-0 last time he was a starter, not to mention that every time we see a change, whether it's a starting quarterback going down and a backup coming in, or a head coach gets fired and the new one takes over, usually they win the next game. Look at Jameis Winston. Deshaun goes down, backup comes in. The very next game, we won against the Ravens.
Well, here's the only takeaway I have. The Ravens defense compared to the Eagles right now, and this has always been the product of Vic Fangio, because Vic, this stuff usually gets in 4 weeks, right? And right after that, he gets into a rhythm. Now I'm watching Cooper DeJean and Quinion Mitchell, but I'm also watching a couple of other players, other impactful players like Nolan Smith is actually playing pretty damn good. And so this defense, it took a bit of time, but I think they've also figured that out. But here's the other thing, though, too. Jalen Hurts is playing much better than the Jalen Hurts when the season started. I think that had to come from, I don't even know if this was a private meeting between the owner, GM, and the coach, but since that time, they've actually cleaned some things up.
I mean, I get that, but, let's also see what the Saints do against the Falcons, because now that they fired their head coach, are we going to see a win from the Saints? I mean, we see it time and time again. A coach gets fired.
Yeah.
The very next week, the team ends up either playing a lot better or they end up winning the very next week. And same thing with like a quarterback change. We see, a quarterback go down, and then the very next week they end up winning. I said Jameis only because our offense scored 20 points for the first time in a season when he took over at quarterback. So I don't know. I just think that that momentum that you usually see, or that
my thing with the Saints, though, that defense is old. And
at the same time, I will agree. I got the Falcons winning, but we'll see.
Yeah. But at the same time, it's like Clint Kubiak went off in 2 weeks. That offense hasn't been the same since then. And I've been trying to figure out what it is. I mean, they've been shut down, and I know that they've been playing with a backup in Spencer Rattler, but I mean, this team needs a lot of help. I mean, this is where I'm like, when I look at the Falcons, they have no pass rush, and I get that. But if the ball's in the air, but here's the other takeaway. Marshawn Lattimore's gone. Now, he may not have been available because of injury, and that may not be, the case. But, I mean, this defense, it's changing its stuff up. So I just think the Falcons, I think the 3.5. Again, if this game went to, let's say, 5.5, I will take the Saints points. But because it's a comfortable 3.5, that's all I need. And I think they could get that done with the offense, especially with just the way that Kirk Cousins has been managing the game.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I think this week is interesting for one. And I didn't get the Eagles game. I am going to take the Eagles -7 because I just think right now the offensive line looks bad. The run game looks atrocious. You're going with a backup now because Dak is out for 4 weeks with an injury?
It honestly could be longer because they said he has an avulsion. So an avulsion is basically when you have part of your skin tissue popping out of your skin.
Ugh, yeah. So then
So
why would I? Yeah. If I'm Jerry, and look, the season right now looks like a lost cause. I'm sorry. I know they don't want to admit that because they're the Cowboys, but this season is a lost cause. What are you doing? I think in the end of it, you basically play up with what you have. I'm not saying you sit, like if they were to sit Dak for the rest of the season, I mean, don't you think you should honestly sit CeeDee Lamb too? I just wouldn't. My thing is because it's a lost season for them. And what Jerry needs to get through his head is your defensive coordinator gutted you out of your defense outside of Micah Parsons and a couple others. The other problem is you have no run game. You have you have redeveloped offensive linemen from here. And so my biggest takeaway is, and I've been on this train now, I think the Cowboys should trade Micah for a few reasons. You're getting back value, and you should be focusing on the offensive side of the ball. I did not get that Jonathan Mingo trade for a 4th rounder. I didn't get that. I felt like Jerry overpaid. I understand they need a number 2 receiver, but how do we even know if Jonathan Mingo is? I mean, I would like to see him in a change of scenery with a different offensive scheme, but come on, for a 4th rounder on a 2nd round wide receiver, I don't get it. That's just Jerry's way of business, I guess. It's not my preferred business, but
it's Jerry's world. We're living in it.
Yeah, pretty much. And I think Jerry, I think he's realizing that, I always kind of compare this because there was a spot. I don't know if you've ever heard of it before, but there was a spot in California State Line. It's called Eddie's World. It's out in the basis of nowhere in California, but it's got such amazing ice cream and it's got like all this other stuff. It's so good, but you're in the middle of nowhere. Okay. And I'm like, your season's going nowhere. Dak's hurt. Run game sucks. Offensive line is redeveloping, and it has not looked the same since Travis Frederick retired. I mean, I love Zach Martin, but that's not a promising team there. I think it was just all fool's gold, and it's just like we said, you're my witness. This is why I took the Commanders over the Cowboys to start the season, because you knew that this was eventually going to crash land down, and Jerry, I mean, he's been prickly. He's been sounding arrogant on radio shows, and it's because he's paying the price for what's happening right now. But, yeah, this is bad. All right, good stuff. A good week, at least, this week.
Yeah.
I mean, look, we got 4 days of snow days here in Denver, but it's not stopping in any way possible. So, Appreciate everybody for being here up onto the show with Chase and myself. What a fantastic week we've had. Next week, we got a lot more to talk about. We got our show days Wednesday through. We got a lot. Thursday night football games are getting better. We've also got some series like the Chargers and Bengals game now flexed into Sunday night football next week. So there's going to be a lot of action there talking about it. Well, Chase and I will always have you covered here up onto the show. Jake Silva and Chase Stevis signing off. Appreciate all of you guys for hanging with us all week. And we're going to be running it back the same next week. Appreciate all of you guys. Tune back in next week, and we'll see you guys next week.